Hi, Adam here from the Brisbane channel and welcome to the 36th weekly Greater Brisbane update. And this week's is just stupid how much there is to cover. From changing population to inhalable flu vaccines, Olympics updates and other changes that will dramatically alter the face of our cities, and a movie ticket giveaway. This video is sponsored by KGB Security, named after founders Aussie brothers Kel, Jeff and Brock, not the Soviet intelligence agency. So calm down and enjoy the updates. We'll start by looking at the latest figures from the Bureau of Statistics that track population change across Australia, which shows change over the year to March 31st. While there's no specifics for the Greater Brisbane area, the data on how Queensland's population has changed is still worth taking a look at, particularly when the trend is for more of the population to be based in urban than rural areas across the state. While each state has seen an increase in population, the most interesting part is the breakdown of population changes. Increases or decreases are measured for natural increase, that is, people making babies and not so many dying, interstate migration and overseas migration. While overseas migration was the #1 contributor to population change across the board, with Queensland third highest in the country, but still not much over half of each Sydney and Melbourne's figures, the more notable figures are around interstate migration. Only Queensland and Western Australia saw more people arriving than leaving, with Queensland seeing more than double Western Australia's net increase. Seems everybody wants to be in Queensland. Of course, that's not really true. While over 103,000 people moved to Queensland over the 12-month period, almost 80,000 left. So while the net result was over 24,000 people being added to the state's population, there's still 80,000 that had enough of the sunshine and chill vibes. Or maybe it was the humidity and worsening traffic situation they were fleeing. A new needle-free flu vaccine will soon be made available free of charge to 2, 3 and 4-year-olds across the state. FluMist is administered via a nasal spray and will be trialled next year. It's already been used extensively overseas, where it contributed to an increase in vaccine uptake among children. As FluMist is not covered by the federal government's national immunisation program, the trial will be funded by the state government. I have something I'd like to get off my chest later in the video when I give my 2 cents related to this topic. And moving on to another thing that people may have quite differing views on, the Queensland government has passed new laws banning the private funding of pill testing labs, effectively banning the labs altogether after withdrawing government funding earlier in the year. Actually, they've banned any pill testing operations from being carried out across the state. This coincided with the long-awaited release of an independent review into pill testing services that was completed and submitted by the University of Queensland in March, but that the state government had refused to release, also blocking right to information requests. Both the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners and the Australian Medical Association's Queensland president had called for the release of the report as far back as June. The independent report found that pill testing provided valuable harm reduction. As Dr. Nick Yim, the AMA Queensland president, points out, many of the people who used the testing services had not previously engaged with healthcare professionals or discussed drug or alcohol use with them, so the pill testing allowed people to be better informed through discussion with healthcare professionals about drug use, including what treatment pathways were available to them along with the dangers of synthetic drugs. Reviews by the Loop Australia, who delivered the formerly government-funded pill testing service, showed that consultations during testing often led to behavioural change in drug users, but the state government argues that pill testing equates to putting out the welcome mat to illicit drugs, and that there is no safe way to take illicit drugs. Premier David Crisafulli has said that drug-checking services send the wrong message to Queenslanders. I'll give my 2 cents at the end of the video on this matter also. I'd love to move on to a topic that people aren't strongly divided over, but the next update is on progress with the development of the Victoria Park precinct for the 2032 Olympic Games. This week it was announced that British multinational firm Arup has been appointed as the principal contractor for the Victoria Park precinct, which will include the 63,000-seat Brisbane Stadium, the National Aquatic Centre and the Brisbane Athletes Village. Planning also includes connectivity and transportation infrastructure. Arup cemented their place as a global player when Arup's founder worked as lead engineer for construction of the Sydney Opera House. With less than 7 years to go, Arup will be starting work, with the architects for the stadium and aquatic centre yet to be locked in, and the decision about where in Victoria Park the stadium will be built yet to be decided. Time is ticking. A quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, KGB Security, a local family-run business that's been serving Brisbane for over 30 years. They provide electronic security solutions for almost every application. KGB install and service alarms, CCTV and access control, and also provide 24/7 emergency service, so you can relax knowing they'll have your back around the clock. Click this QR code or the link in the video description to find out more. Before we get to LGA specific updates, first one that affects two different council areas. There's increasing community pressure for the suburbs of Mount Cotton and Sheldon, which are currently in the state seat of Springwood, part of Logan LGA, to be moved into the Redland LGA. The 7 submissions made to the Queensland Redistribution Commission argue that the suburbs have closer ties to schools, health services, transport and other civic infrastructure in the Redlands than to other Logan suburbs. One submission claimed the only thing the two suburbs shared with others in the state electorate of Springwood, where they currently sit, was the state MP that represented them. Of course, we'll keep you updated on any changes if they do occur here on the Brisbane channel. Let's move now to the LGA specific updates, of course starting with Brisbane. But first, if you find these updates or anything else on the Brisbane channel helpful, firstly giving the video a like costs nothing and it does help the channel. But you can also click this link to buy me a coffee or two, or you can support the channel by becoming a member. Thanks to these members whose support helps me keep making these videos. Okay, the Brisbane City updates. Council has announced what they're labelling as an anti-sprawl plan to allow higher density housing in areas close to public transport and amenities. The plan will focus on the areas around Indooroopilly Shopping Centre, Westfield Shopping Centre at Carindale and Nunda Village. The Lord Mayor says that the focus is on putting housing where the jobs are, where the transport is and where the services are, and that this plan aims to prevent sprawl which impacts bushland and adds to traffic congestion. The leader of the opposition within Council has said that what's missing from Council's plans is strong targets for affordable housing and plans for better public transport, adding that it's no good making announcements about housing supply when you know most people won't be able to afford it nor access it. This is echoed by Greens councillor Trina Massey, who says that without inclusionary zoning rules, there was no guarantee that the developments would include social or affordable housing. With projected population increase between now and 2046, Council has put the total number of new homes required at 210,800, or over 10,000 new homes each year. However, last year there were only 2,700 new homes added to supply, falling well short of that target. This anti-sprawl plan is in addition to the city's suburban renewal plans that we've covered in past updates, with planning soon to start on a 5th suburban renewal area around Westfield Chermside Shopping Centre. Some updates on other precincts in the program include the council approval of the amended plan for Stones Corner this week, which has now been sent to state government for final approval, and a draft version of the Wynnum plan released this week, with community consultation to open on October 7. Just down the road from Chermside, the former Top Taste Bakery site in Kedron, which closed in 2020, has been earmarked for a transformation into a mixed-use precinct with 9 residential towers ranging from 12 to 15 stories, with ground-level retail and dining outlets, and a minimum 2,500 square metre urban common. As the area is at risk of overland water flow in major storm events, the design has included flood mitigation features. If approved, the development will be called Bakery Square. You may remember when we covered the opening of the Archerfield Wetlands District Park last year. Well, the park has just been named Queensland's Park of the Year in the Parks and Leisure Australia Regional Awards for Excellence. The park transformed a disused water treatment plant in Durack into an adventure and recreation hub. In the same award ceremony, the Brisbane International Cycle Park at Murarrie took out Community Facility of the Year. The two parks will progress to the PLA National Awards for Excellence in November. For full disclosure, I tried to find the winners of other categories in case any came from other Greater Brisbane LGAs, but the PLA website has not yet been updated with any details, so I could only rely on council releases, and Brisbane City Council was the only one to mention any wins. Heading now to the Redlands, and Council there has adopted a major amendment to its city plan to facilitate the delivery of higher quality apartment and townhouse developments in the LGA. The amendment aims to provide greater housing choice while ensuring housing maintains the area's character. Changes include a reduction in maximum site cover from 75% to 55%, enhanced landscaping provisions, seeking deep planting areas to support the retention or establishment of significant trees, and changes to maximum building heights. Here's a more comprehensive and detailed list of changes. Up in Moreton Bay, work is about to begin on the new Freshwater Village shopping centre in Griffin. Tompkins Commercial and Industrial Builders have been appointed to construct the centre and major retailers have been secured. These will include a full-line Woolworths supermarket, a BWS, a newsagent, barber, nail salon, medical centre, dentist, along with a bakery, dessert shop and Japanese, Korean and Indian restaurants. Also in Moreton Bay, upgrades to the Moreton Bay Sports Complex in Burpengary have been completed after the $8.5 million soccer precinct Stage 2 works added 3 new full-sized fields, lighting upgrades and more car parks. Over to Ipswich, where local, state and federal MPs are calling for the release of the Ipswich to Springfield or I2S Rail Loop Investigation Report. The Department of Transport and Main Roads completed the preliminary evaluation in June to be handed over to the federal government and Ipswich City Council, but after the state government cut back heavy rail plans on the Sunshine Coast and light rail plans for the Gold Coast, some MPs are concerned the I2S will not progress either. A spokesperson for Ipswich City Council has told the Brisbane Channel, Ipswich City Council is continuing to work with the Department of Transport and Main Roads as project lead and other members of the project steering committee to consider and sign off the options analysis and agree the scope of works for the detailed business case for the Ipswich to Springfield Central Public Transport Corridor, noting that these two processes are closely linked. With Ipswich projected to grow faster than any other Queensland LGA over the next 2 decades, building transport infrastructure that can serve the rapidly increasing population is of vital importance, and 70% of the growth is expected to occur along the proposed Ipswich to Springfield Central Public Transport Corridor. With Ipswich receiving among the lowest per capita investment in southeast Queensland for transport infrastructure from the state government, as we've covered in previous update videos, Ipswich City Council has expressed that advocating for projects such as this is being given utmost priority. And now to Logan. If you've been watching the Brisbane Channel for a while, you'll remember that Logan has released updated flood maps recently, which have changed the level of risk for many properties in the LGA. The last time flood maps were updated, many residents saw sudden spikes in their insurance premiums, with some seeing 4-fold increases or even higher. So community outrage over the changes this time has boiled over, with police being called to a town hall meeting in Jimboomba last week as an angry crowd got a bit rowdy, and another follow-up meeting has been cancelled after violent threats were made to council staff. Despite the backlash during the meeting, Mayor John Raven has said that he left the meeting with 10 potential fixes to flood policy that came from the concerns expressed by residents. Staying in Logan, and the idea of a baseball stadium is advancing, with Griffith University investigating the feasibility of a world-class baseball stadium on its Logan campus that can be used for the 2032 Olympics. Assuming the idea is approved by council, the university is expected to partner with them to conduct the investigation. This comes as the mayor took a 10-day trip to Japan and Taiwan to court international investors to fund the project. Projections for the cost of the stadium range from $35 to $100 million, depending on the inclusions. But the main must-haves would be 3,000 seats. So who will end up with the Olympic baseball stadium, Logan or Moreton Bay? Stick with the Brisbane Channel and we'll keep you in the loop. Now for a few quick bites. The Kurilpa Bridge in Brisbane will be divided into pedestrian and cycling lanes marked in paint similar to what's seen on the Goodwill and Kangaroo Point bridges. The work is expected to be completed by the end of the year. Planning is underway for a $44 million upgrade to the police station in Redcliffe, which will allow the Child Protection Investigation Unit and crime prevention teams to return to Redcliffe after they were forced to relocate to Mango Hill due to capacity limitations at Redcliffe. Construction dates are yet to be set. Bayside residents are invited to help shape safer school journeys, with consultation now open for the Wynnum and Manly Safer School Precincts program. Streets around Wynnum State High School, Manly State School and St John Vianney's Primary School will be targeted, in efforts to make school commutes safer while easing congestion. If you want to have your say, I've put a link in the video description. Okay, it's time for me to give my 2 cents on a couple of things. So if you just want to get to the movie ticket giveaway, you can jump to that. But there's a couple of things that I really want to get off my chest here. I will make this clear. This section is my opinion. I make no claims to being right, nor do I want to tell you what to think about anything discussed. But I do value your thoughts and discussion on the issues. This time I'll be expressing very strong opinions that are impacted by my own personal biases. So if you just want the neutral, balanced updates, this would be where you stop watching. Or jump to the movie ticket giveaway. Let's start with the pill testing ban. Now, I'm not going to get to any moral arguments or value judgments when it comes to the pill testing itself, but what I do find concerning is the way the state government has handled the matter, particularly with reference to the independent review on pill testing, and the message that's being sent around how decisions that affect us all are being made. The former state government launched their pill testing initiative with the promise that there would be an independent evaluation of the service by the University of Queensland over the first 12 months of the program. The evaluation was completed and submitted in March this year at a cost to taxpayers of $453,286. But the new state government refused to release the findings despite pressure from health officials and advocates. These included the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners and the Australian Medical Association. The state government blocked the documents released through right to information laws on the basis of it being a cabinet document. It was not until this week when the ban was imposed that the evaluation was released, and I still haven't been able to track it down. What I did find, however, was a very brief summary of background research conducted by the Institute of Social Science Research at UQ as part of the evaluation, which looked at 27 studies from around the world. Of those, 33% had noted a change in the behavior of people who had taken substances in for testing, and 15% reported people actually disposing of the substances after testing. I mention that only because the reported benefits of pill testing as a harm reduction endeavour is still relevant to this discussion, although I want to avoid going down the path of whether we should or shouldn't be doing it, as this is about how the matter has been handled. It's not just about the withholding of the evaluation, it's about the decision to implement this ban while refusing to engage with experts on the matter. As the AMA Queensland President Dr. Nick Yim has said, these are evidence-based treatments that save lives. And that's the key, evidence-based. The government has put their principles and ideologies ahead of what is backed by evidence, and they seem to be so scared that the evidence makes it look like their predecessors did something positive that also conflicts with their own worldview, that they want to withhold any evidence of that for as long as they can. I'm not here to attack the current state government, as I do believe they're trying to do many positive things, but what I personally find disturbing with this particular issue is their apparent reluctance to engage with any experts that may tell them something they're uncomfortable hearing, and the lack of transparency they're demonstrating to their constituents. They are simply saying, drugs are bad, drugs are dangerous, don't do them. But in the words of Dr. Yim, the government says there is no safe way to take drugs. If they have evidence to demonstrate this, they should release it so the Queensland community can examine the data. Regardless the side of politics a government is from, decisions should be 1. Based on evidence and advice from experts in the relevant fields, not on feelings or moral judgments of right and wrong, and 2. Transparent and open. So whether you agree that pill testing should be banned or it shouldn't be banned, you should at least be able to know what evidence that it's either helpful or harmful has been drawn on in making the decision to ban it. The other thing I want to mention is actually quite a personal frustration as someone running a YouTube channel like this one, and mention of the inhalable flu vaccine that will be offered next year is something that I know will bring out one of the things that I can't wrap my head around. Last time I mentioned the free flu vaccination being offered, I had a flood of angry comments from people for even mentioning it, with a handful choosing to unsubscribe from the channel because of that. It's the same as the angry people who unsubscribed when I covered the March for Palestine. Then there's the ones who get really worked up when I even mention that Brisbane has a history that predates European colonisation. One of the most frustrating things about doing this channel is dealing with people who are so passionately against something for whatever reason that they cannot even handle it being mentioned. I never said people should get the flu vaccine, even though benefits of vaccination are clearly documented and proven. Yes, people should be aware of risks or possible side effects of any medical treatment. But my issue is that people were so anti-vax that they chose to walk away from all the other useful updates and information they could find on the channel just because one thing mentioned, not even advocated for, clashed with their own views. It seems those people who can't see the difference between reporting and supporting. And this is what drives me mad, that as soon as people hear something that they disagree with, they run. And so we end up with people spending all their time living in echo chambers surrounded by people who support their existing worldviews, not interacting with people who see things differently. They feel comfortable and never have to have their ideas challenged. But the problem I have with that is that none of us are right about everything all the time. It's healthy and positive to hear ideas that clash with our own. And if we're mature and sensible enough to listen to those ideas calmly and not get emotional, and if we resist the urge to only focus on defending our own position, then maybe, just maybe, we might actually occasionally learn something new. We may develop a more well-rounded view of the world we live in. So I've come to see the people who leave in a huff as being people who are not suited to this channel and what it stands for. This channel is for people who are curious and who like to listen to a range of ideas and make their own mind up about where they stand. People who aren't threatened by ideas different from their own and who embrace the complexity of the world we live in. Those who actively question, who listen to everything with a certain level of skepticism, and who are comfortable discussing things beyond just the black and white. All right, vent over. Let's get to the movie ticket giveaway. This week I have 10 in-season tickets to give away to the horror film The Strangers, Chapter 2. The Strangers are back, more brutal and relentless than ever. When they learn that one of their victims, Maya, is still alive, they return to finish what they've started. With nowhere to run and no one to trust, Maya must survive another horrific chapter of terror as the Strangers, driven by a senseless, unceasing purpose, pursue her, more than willing to kill anyone who stands in their way. To win one of 10 Admit 2 tickets that you can use at a cinema near you, head to the Brisbane Channel's Instagram, follow the channel, like the relevant post, and tag a friend in your comment. Winners will be drawn in a live stream on Wednesday night, the night before it opens in cinemas across Greater Brisbane. I'm Adam, signing off from the city that can be seen in films including Thor Ragnarok, Unbroken, San Andreas, Inspector Gadget 2, Scooby-Doo, Daybreakers, and Jackie Chan's First Strike. See ya. From changing population to inflatable flu vaccines, inflatable, over to Ipswich, where local, state and federal